Right then, welcome back to the channel. One of my favourite things to talk about is why England are rubbish, why England are not going to be successful at any given tournament. And we ran it close a couple of times where people are like, what about now? And yeah, ultimately I was still right because they've not won fuck all since 1966. Now, here's why England are going to fail at Euro 2024. So Gareth Southgate has been quoted as saying that the Euros might be his last chance at managing England, and you can absolutely see why that is probably going to be the case. England over the last 8 years has been packed with an absolute embarrassment of talent, desperate for a manager to harness them and get them across the line. Can you imagine what a Mourinho, an Ancelotti, or someone with a bit of managerial talent would have done with the team that he's had at his disposal? They've taken the lead in games and then failed to win those games, in games that are decided on a goal quite often. England has had some success in tournaments. They've taken each tournament to the latter stages, and that's fine. But if you remember, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had to go because he didn't get them over the line. But that was all right for Gareth Southgate, supposedly. And they've gone into some of these tournaments as favourite. They are going into this Euros, I don't know how, as favourites. So it might be his last chance. I have no idea who you would get to manage England afterwards that's going to take them on, but I think it probably will be his last chance because I think they're going to fail. And here's why. First off, imbalance. Now, this England side is filled with imbalances, and it's hard to see what Southgate is trying to do with the players that are at his disposal. He seems like he's a bit of a people pleaser. And when you're a people pleaser, you please no people, because no one is going to be happy with you all the time. To be an effective manager, you got to piss people off. And Gareth Southgate's not got it in him to piss people off. That Iceland friendly demonstrated that entirely. You saw a front four that was Harry Kane, Gordon, Foden and Palmer, right? Players that are in good form for their clubs, and as good as they are, there was no centrepiece in between the group. Foden stank the place out, and he was by far the odd one out. His England form is in complete and utter contrast to his club form, showing that he works effectively in a certain system, but perhaps not when the system's not suited to him. And I think that's the story of every England side. Palmer's in great form, so he plays. He plays on the wing for Chelsea, and he's had some brilliant football off the right-hand side. But it's a completely different setup to what he gets played in, and a totally different style of football to international football. Now, I actually thought Palmer was pretty decent against Iceland, but Foden's performance does not give any hope for him to be the central creator in the England side. And there's more imbalances right throughout the team, including, and I'll get into this in a second. You know what, actually, I'll get into it. I'll do the left-back thing first. So left-back, you're playing a right-back there out of position instead of a natural left-back. And you go, well, Shaw's not fit. Well, why have you took him? Trippier can be error-prone. And the one asset Trippier's got is just top draw level of output offensively. He's above average as a defender, but he's excellent in the final third. Why would you play him left side? I don't get why you would play him left side. Now, you play him left side against someone like France, they're going to target him and they're going to ruin him. The entire England side looks unfamiliar with each other. There's no cohesion, which is mad because Southgate seems to just select the same players all the time. And it's a big thing. The likes of Portugal, France and Holland have got this in abundance, yet would you back the England team against them? Now, one of my major gripes is that he's picking a team without a clear identity. What did his England team take the field to go and do? Now, I know that France are going to be happy to be a hard-working team that uses its pace in the counter and absolutely pieces you up. France aren't necessarily going to look to hold possession, even though they'll probably end up with a lot of possession just on the account of the quality of the players that they've got. But they'll work hard off the ball. That's what they do. And then when they get the time and Mbappe gets the space, he will punish you. We know Spain are going to want to try and hold the ball, and every single player on that team have 100 passes each. But I look at the likes of the Dutch team, the Portuguese team. They've got balance in the side. They've got depth in the side, and they're going to try and play football against you. It's an absolute disgrace that this England team is considered favourites. You don't know what they're trying to do. Now, one thing is, and we'll talk about central defences in a second, but you play Harry Maguire for all of these games, and then it comes to the tournament and you don't play Harry Maguire. Now, on one hand, if you was trying to piece up a certain style of play, you say, Harry Maguire doesn't fit our style of play, so we're going to go in a different direction. I would applaud that as decisive planning and thinking and an attempt to try and get a team to play a systematic style of play. Gareth Southgate's not doing that. He is picking flavours of the month, by and large. He is picking players based on how they are doing for their club. Phil Foden has to play. He's had a sensational season at Manchester City. Where does he play? Seemingly, a lot of people didn't understand what I meant by this, so I'll try and explain it in detail. He's trying to shoehorn Trent into midfield. And I think Trent's got some good assets in terms of his range of passing. Now, I don't think he's like a Michael Carrick style of passer. I don't think you're going to see those incisive through balls into the feet of the striker, breaking lines. I think he's an over and around kind of player with good vision. He has got good vision and he's got a good range on him. But again, he's a bit of a volume merchant with it. He's not precise. He's got that sort of relentlessness to just keep putting the ball in the same place. Now, again, it's one thing doing this for Liverpool. Liverpool is a team with runners. Diaz, Núñez, these are people, Salah, they play on the shoulder and they look to get in behind. Who, in the England side, in what's supposedly the starting England lineup, if Trent plays, that means Foden's now a winger, or Palmer's a winger, Saka's a winger, and Saka's not quick. Harry Kane, Saka, and Foden all like the ball to feet. Now, I thought that was a phrase everybody knew, right? Liking the ball to feet, wanting the ball to feet means that these are players that come short and they want you to pass the ball to their feet. Now, an example of a player that would run in behind: Núñez, Haaland, Marcus Rashford. You put the ball into a channel in front of them, Garnacho, and they run onto it. Now, Paul Scholes looked as good as Paul Scholes did because he would hit those switches in behind for people to run onto. He rarely played those to somebody's feet. Now, when you have a team that wants the ball to feet across the 4 forward players, Harry Kane plays as another number 10. He gets in the box once the opposition are pushed in the box, but he doesn't lead the line in the way that Haaland does. He kind of comes off into the half space and operates as a bit of a playmaker, which he's excellent at. It's not a slight on him. He's fantastic at it. But he's best suited with a Marcus Rashford ahead of him because then the defence has to leave someone in gaps. Now, if and when Harry Kane peels off into the half space against France, that entire team is going to push up knowing that there is zero threat in behind, squeeze, and win the ball back off you. So why is Trent in this team? To dosh balls over the top? Great. Who's running onto him? Because not any of the forwards that are designed to play. So when we say there is an imbalance in the team, it's just a complete lack of identity. It's clueless. If you would say, right, do you know what? We're going to put absolute speed merchants. Let's go with Tony. Let's go with Gordon. Let's go with Rashford. And as soon as Trent gets on the ball, everyone just goes. And then I would say, do you know what? Yeah, that works. It's not the most elegant style of football, but I bet it's fucking effective. Because those 3 running in behind with Trent putting the ball over the top is fucking effective. Okay, so you're not going to be able to hit anyone running in behind. You're going to want to play a possession style of football, perhaps. Maybe that's what you're looking to try and do. Now, that would make a little bit of sense. But then, I don't really see Declan Rice as that Rodri level of conductor. I think he's good. But I don't think he's on the level that you need to be able to just dictate play from deep like that. The centre-halves, you're picking John Stones as a centre-half. In fact, let's talk about the defence, actually. The centre defence is weak. Harry Maguire, as a pure defender, is pretty good. Especially when it comes to defending his box. And especially international football where the pace is just 5%, 10% slower than the Premier League. And that's where I think he's played some of his best football, before and after signing for United. And he probably would have had a good tournament this time round if he'd have got on the plane. But him missing out due to injury, a bit of a blow for Southgate. He can bring in Mark Guéhi, and I like Mark Guéhi, to be fair, and I think he'll be the name that steps in. But he's unfamiliar because Southgate hasn't blooded these players before. He hasn't used the friendlies, which mean nothing, to get these players game time together. Now, Gay wasn't the worst defender, I don't think, against Iceland, but he was probably by far the most solid, actually. But him and Stones have got no experience playing together, and John Stones has spent most of the season as a sort of like halfback. He's kind of been in that push-up kind of role that Manchester City like him to operate in, and he's kind of had a few injuries as well. So if you're banking on Stones, I don't know if Gay's aggressive enough to play alongside Stones. Konsa, Kwanzaa, Gomez, they're not really proper options. You might end up with Luke Shaw going there. Could Konsa be a better option? When you're talking about winning the tournament, these can't be your centre-half options. I just don't know what they're going to do at centre-half with it. Is it going to be Stones? And the entire defence, I see a lot of conversation about Walker. Okay, he's had a bit of a rough friendly, but make no mistake, Walker is a fucking nightmare for pace. If I'm playing against France, I'm putting Walker and Mbappe, and I'm thinking about everything else in the squad, and I'm going to completely forget about having to try to deal with Mbappe. The squad just isn't strong enough. You've got some genuine world-class talent in Bellingham and in Harry Kane, and probably not far off world-class talent in Rice. I think Foden's not quite there just yet, but he's very good if you can get him to play the way he does for City. If that stat's correct about his 2 in 30 or something like that for England, how is it so different? The cover for Harry Kane is a big drop-off. Watkins has done fantastic in the league this year, but again, doesn't have international experience. Does the team know how to play him? Calling Trent up as a central midfielder is one of the stupidest decisions that ever could have been made. And the fact that he's given him the number 8 suggests to me that he's thinking of starting him in there. And like Rooney said on the overlap, you play France and Trent's not in there at all. So what is the point? Every midfielder in the squad is more suited to that role than him. And if you're bringing him in on a solely creator basis, Foden's not quite doing it for you, international level, like it or not. Where's Maddison? Because Maddison actually suits this team down to a ground. And then Gareth Southgate himself. I think he's one of the leading factors in why this England team's not going to be coming away with a trophy. In previous tournaments, he's done nothing from a tactical point of view, and I mean nothing from a tactical point of view, that has impressed me. Nothing. Not once. He's extremely conservative, way too conservative, and it's not even like he's conservative in a Jose Mourinho style of play, where he'll come up with a way to just completely shut down the opposition. He's too middle of the road. He's too safe. Him saying, I'm going to lock the tank and I'm going to hit him on the counter. No, that's too aggressive. I'm going to go on the front foot. Oh, that's too aggressive. He is fucking watered down milk. Ready salted crisp and fucking sparkling water. He is just boring. He's absolutely boring. His record against the best teams is horrendous. In 25 clashes against the big nations in France and Belgium and Germany, Netherlands, Croatia, Italy, Spain, they've only won 6 in 25. He just doesn't take risks. And I think that's the riskiest thing of all, is to not take risks. The last Euros, they tried to sit on a 1-0 lead. They scored very early. But they just let Italy back into the game. They didn't fully commit to being a low block. They just sort of stopped attacking. That's what he does. He doesn't have the fucking balls to go for the victory. Same with Croatia in 2018. The England squad is good. I don't think it's the best squad that's at the Euros. I think people are just fucking hyping themselves into oblivion. But it isn't going to do it. It doesn't have the balance. It doesn't have the identity. And it sure as shit does not have the manager. And the media and England fans all get their hopes up. Rooney just said he thinks England are going to win it. Them or Portugal. How? We have seen enough of Gareth Southgate to know that he is not a winner. And people who aren't winners don't win. And looking at the route through to the final for England, they're just not getting there. Let me know, do you agree? Do you disagree? Tell me why. I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.